Hi everyone, it's Norman Kochnek here, again from Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnek. It's a very bleak day here in Australia. It's as dark as anything, and it's only 5:30, and I'm assuming that it's better around the world, but in particular in Southampton, near the port city there. Hello, Sharma, in the port city of Southampton. The reports are all looking very sunny. Yes, they are. It's a sunny day for today. It looks like we should be able to get some play, which is very, very exciting. Once the game starts, of course, we'll have a dramatic turnaround. Now, there are a couple of things which we can certainly... Hello, Munchie. Morning, afternoon, evening, depending on who Munchie's talking to. I'm pretty sure that we've got the likes of Chris Vernon joining us. He's on... Munchie, I think you told me, he may have told you, but he told me that he was on the way to a match today, so he's going to be in a vehicle with a colleague. I've got a few other people coming on as we speak, but I'm going to be on for a long chat, so we're going to be right here until the start of play. We've had a very, very exciting day, or at least I've had a very exciting day. I had a lot of things which have gone very well regards to my channel. I had a lot of very bright aspects of future interviews that I'm going to undertake, some fairly substantial players, but probably the league games today. Are you talking about rugby league, or are you talking about your Premier League? You know, he's playing, in fact, isn't he? I think he's got a pretty substantial game, the old Chris. But Chris will hopefully be decked out in the right cap, won't he? So how is the weather? The weather is going to be a topic of conversation. I would argue that we're going to get pretty close to a full day's play. There's some rain around 3 o'clock English time, which may hit them for a small time, but I think by that stage we'll have innings well underway. So, Sharari, yes, today the toss and to bowl first. Interesting. It does look like, having spoken to Simon Willis only yesterday or the day before, it does look like that's the indication of how they'll go. But I would always, in my captaincy days, regardless of the conditions, always in these type of innings, these type of long matches, I would always back my batters and bat first if I won the toss. That's what I would do. But I'm not saying it's necessarily... This wicket seems to be morphing. It's going to be sweating. It's going to be very moist underneath the covers, and that will allow them to actually perhaps consider bowling first. But if a good batting side can get through the first hour to 2 hours play, then they're in the ascendancy. They can set the tone of the match. They can score 300 plus, and 300 plus in this wicket is worth 500 in a lot of other wickets. So the 300 runs will be very significant, because I cannot see the last three innings going more than 250. In fact, some will go below 200. That's my prediction. I can't see innings being... So therefore, if you bat first and get a substantial score, when I say substantial, anywhere around that 300 mark plus, you will be in a position where you put a lot of pressure on the opposition. So that's my thoughts. If you bowl first, you sure as hell want to make sure you get a lot of wickets early, because if you don't, it'll backfire on you. And that's there. And that also the mental side of it. If you're going to decide to bowl first and you don't bowl with a great deal of ascendancy, well, then you'll certainly be on the back foot, both mentally and physically. Now, you would also, somebody Munchie says, Saturday Vines versus Bromley, Chris, he'll be there, but he's got a bit of time before he's on his way. In fact, I'm pretty sure he'll be on for a little while. Chris has promised that in a bit, he said he's driving at the moment, but he said he's just mentioned to me, in a bit I'll try. So and we've got Gill coming on shortly as well. Saban, there's a few people coming on. So Naresh, yes, and I'm getting all these messages from people as to their availability. That's okay. We'll get people on throughout the day. Yeah, so Munchie, you're right. Seven Oaks Vine versus Bromley. He's on the way to play for that, and of course, that's a great thing. We'll certainly have. We're going to have the pre-match, which is 2 hours before the match. We're having a very long one, because officially this is kind of day one, even though it's deemed to be day two. It'll be day 2 of 6, not day 2 of 5. So it's virtually day one in the true essence of the word. But what I'm getting at is, we will have the pre-show. We will have the game start hopefully on time. We'll then have a decent first 2 sessions play without any interruption. Maybe some interruption in the third period of play, what I believe, third session, I should say. But then we'll have a day's play. So I will have a session directly after the show on all days, and the pre-shows every day. So we'll have a good chat. Don't worry, we've got plenty to talk about, plenty to show about. This is still a pivotal game, a crucial game, and I can't make it clear. This is a watershed moment for Test cricket, a turning point, a new level, you could argue, a crescendo where Test cricket can come to the fore to be a World Cup event. I would still call it Test World Cup. They haven't done that. They call it World Test Championship, but it is the crescendo. Not unlike the day in 1975 when Clive Lloyd and his West Indians beat England in the first ever 50-over Test cricket. So 50-over cricket. It was amazing, and it was the onset of the true sign of the West Indies. Well, today and tomorrow look mainly dry, which is a fantastic report. Monday is not looking good. Tuesday mixed, and Wednesday looks dry and sunny. So really, you're giving me a prediction there, Munchie, of anywhere from 3 to 4 days play. Out of 6, we're losing. Looks like Monday is not going to be good, and yesterday wasn't good. So that's 2 out of 6, which is 4. And really, they're going to get a result. And I'll tell you why. They're going to get a result. And I think Simon Willis made that point yesterday. The learned Simon Willis, he's a great person to talk to about the cricket. The reality is that there's a significant amount of money. I think it's 1.5 million US dollars for the winner and some 800,000 for the runner-up. So quite frankly, it's a big price tag, and I think almost IPL-like for the players to get their act together and actually win. So both teams will be playing to win. Virat Kohli is very aggressive, very much in that mind anyway. Williamson's very crafty and also in that mindset too. Oh, they bet the Aussies in 1975. I'm sorry, my apologies. That was my mistake. They bet the Aussies in 75, but in fact, that was played in England. That's right, my apologies. I had this imagination that they actually played. I think they did mention that they played them. Did they play England in the 79 next World Cup and won that against England? I'm pretty sure they beat England in one of the World Cups. I can't remember exactly, but anyway. Okay, so my apologies. It was 75 Aussies. A couple of other apologies I've got to make too about the situation. Yes, the teams can be changed right up until the toss. I was under the impression it wasn't, so I made a mistake there. So in fact, the teams can be changed right up to the toss, but it would be out of the 15-person squad they've got and no other player. And on top of that, of course, India can still change, but they're very unlikely. They've decided early that is their best 11, rain, hail, or shine in the true sense of the word. West Indies beat England a lot after 25. Yes, that is true. They certainly did beat England a lot. West Indies beat Australia a lot in that period. Yeah, the week is going to be quite wet, and they could have played more. Look, it's a pity they couldn't have perhaps engineered a different set of conditions. But when there's a lot of talk I'm seeing in the commentary, as in feedback in various parts of social media, including mine, the people are damning the ICC for choosing this time of the year. Well, that's rubbish. It's not. They didn't do it deliberately or purposefully. They didn't know who was going to be in the final. They weren't engineering anything. They weren't trying to make it difficult one over the other. The reality is that both sides are in the same kettle of fish. And they, quite frankly, they really have no excuses. You can't. Both teams are virtually fully fit, very, very luckily. And New Zealand's able to rest players. They seem to be all fully fit. Williamson might be hanging around with an injury, but he'll be playing. They're not like England, for that matter, who have got a fair few players that are out, which we mentioned earlier in the previous series, the likes of Archer, even Ben Stokes. But I'm sure if Ben Stokes was playing in the final, if there was a final today, Ben Stokes would go in there in a wheelchair. He's that determined bloke, and that's what I want to see. I want to see more of that. Players playing injured. I really think playing injured is very important. Why I'm saying that? Because you don't have to. You don't have to play. You don't have to forego playing cricket at all. I think to me, there's every reason why. Every reason why you can play. There's absolutely no reason why you can't. I know it's not like a rugby match or anything like that, but many of the best players in the world played injured, and I'm sure there's a few that are carrying injuries, namely Williamson. I don't know whether Shami or Bumrah are totally fit either. Ishant Sharma will, because of his age, will have those factors involved. So there's players playing with injury. But I made it clear yesterday, I made it clear on previous days, this test match is a win at all costs, not just for the money, but for the prestige and the honour of being the first World Test Championship winner. And to have that sable which says you are the best in the world for Test cricket, is a prestige that many people would die to have. And I'm afraid Australia, England, South Africa, West Indies and the like are not going to have any opportunities today. It's purely New Zealand and India. And India have got a whopping opportunity. Yeah, and that's true. I mean, playing... Why would you not play it in England? Why would you not? If they had Lords available, which they did initially have, well, that's the premier ground in the world. Hang on a second, I just dropped something. Hang on a second. It's the premier ground in the world. The ground that we're talking about is the premier, the most prestigious, most historical, most monumental, most best atmosphere out of all test grounds by 100 miles. I mean, certainly Eden Gardens in India, even Wankhede Stadium these days, even Chennai, there's quite a few. Bangalore, they've got some magnificent stadiums around. I mean, Dharmashal is probably the most beautiful stadium. Of course, I'm going to say the Sydney Cricket Ground because of its history, the Bradman-esque history, and even, you know, the Wanderers in South Africa, and, you know, Eden Garden, not Eden Garden, sorry, the Basin Reserve in New Zealand, the beautiful, beautiful ground. Even you know, in Auckland, the ground they've got there is another great ground. There's some great grounds around the world. I've been to all of them. I'm very lucky to say that I've been to all the ones I've just mentioned, and I'm very proud of that. And played cricket on a few of them too, by the way. I've had a few matches here and there. The reality is that it's the place to play, and it's relevant. It was chosen for a reason, and look, it's extremely neutral. It's not New Zealand's home ground, nor is it India's home ground. And I had some commentary in one of my Australian fans' reaction videos that I put together, which are going very well, by the way. They made a comment there. One guy was quite a character. He's a painter in Sydney and Coogee. He's a real character. First of all, he said to me, "No, I don't want to be on a video." No. But then by the end of it, I couldn't get him off the video. And he made a great comment, which was quite funny. He said, "New Zealand are going to win the World Test Championship because they've got home ground advantage." And we laughed because that's not the home ground, although it's a similar ground. You could argue to a New Zealand ground in the conditions and the weather, the movement, the air, the overcast nature. Yes, there is a semblance of similarity to New Zealand, but this is England. And players like Will Young, who we still are not. I don't believe. Munchie, you may know more than me. I'm not. I've heard that de Grandhomme has been announced in the side, but we still don't know really officially what the New Zealand side is. Will Young get a surprise call-up? You never know. I'm pretty sure that New Zealand will still go on with an all-seamer attack. I'm pretty sure they're not going to use Patel. Both Simon and Chris and I were talking about that yesterday with Gill, or whenever it was the day before. I can't remember what day it was. We had that discussion. I was quite adamant that, you know, they're unlikely to play a spinner in New Zealand. Why? If they had a gun spinner like an Ashwin or a Jadeja, they may consider it. But their spinner, although he's done okay in the previous matches, is not up to the standard to be out now, certainly to be selected for the side in the World Test Championship. So that's the bottom line there. Yeah, so no side's been announced just before the toss. Well, I'd be shocked if India have announced their side much. They haven't announced their side yet. 2 days ago, or a day and a half ago, whatever it was, they have announced their side. Is Keshu joining? Well, he's been invited. He's probably not even awake yet. The guy sleeps. Keshu normally goes to bed extremely late, like 5, 6 a.m. in the morning, and gets up around this time. So I haven't got a message from him, and I'll message him now, but he'll be here. Don't worry, guys. We'll have plenty of people on. I'm just asking, are you joining? Okay, so let's have a look here. Yeah. India have announced we're still can change us. You're right, but the fact is that I'm very sure India's got a certain pride about what they do, and then when they answer a question, there's a person saying answer his question, and I haven't seen it. So where's your question? I'm sorry, I don't know where your question is. Where is it? I can't find it. You have to repeat your question. Sorry, someone's asking excessively to answer his question. So is today day 1 or 2 if they play? It's a great question, Manu John. It's effectively day 2. It's still day 2. Day 1 was abandoned due to rain. It is day 2, although for all intensive purposes is day 1. But because we are aware that her day is washed out, an extra day is added on, that becomes day 6. It's still day 6 because the program was planned for day one yesterday, which didn't happen, but the match is now, you could effectively say, is almost in progress. And therefore, it is a day that will go down the records as being abandoned. And day 2 starts today, which will effectively be an extra day into a day 6. So yeah, it's still 2 days, called day 2, although effectively for all intents and purposes, it's like day 1. And, okay, the updates on the Southampton weather, I've seen 12 or 13 degrees Celsius, which is certainly chilly, but no rain, relatively, well, I wouldn't say dry, but I'd say relatively waterless, and therefore in a situation where our play hopefully will be starting on time. I don't know whether there's anything more. That's the update that I have seen. That's what we're going by, and I think Munchie might give us some more. We'll get play today, yes. Overcast with a gentle wind, might get some rain late in the afternoon, evening, which it'll be drizzle, and I'm sure they'll be able to work around that. So that's what the question is. Okay. Devon Conway, gaming with Huddock. Devon Conway, there's no doubt about it. Devon Conway is a important factor in this New Zealand side now opening the batting. As I said in previous shows, the batters, the opening batters, that is, of course, Devon Conway and, of course, Latham, in conjunction with Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill, you have 4 of the most important batters in the teams because they will have to start well, and especially in these conditions. If you can stave off, if you're a good opening bat, you'll be letting a lot of balls go there on or outside of stump because you know they're going to be going away. And keeping a good hand on things. I think that they need to thwart the first hour, maybe an hour and a half of bowling, if not 2 hours. And it is really something of a matter of importance when it comes down to the batsmen that follow. And that's the important bat. Of course, we've got Pujara who can do well, a whole raft of good Indian and New Zealand batters, but they're the 4 opening batters that are important. And in fact, there is word from Munchie that he'll keep posted on the weather. There's also the chance, well, I think not a chance, it's going to happen. There's going to be an extension to the end of the day's play. Whether it's half an hour or an hour, I don't know. But there'll be an extension. It says 30 minutes, but it could be longer. We don't know what they're going to do. They're going to try and get as many overs as possible. And I think it's 90. Is not 90 overs is normally the minimum you're supposed to bowl on a full day's play. They may go 95. They may go maybe even 100. That will allow perhaps to catch up on some lost time. But then if you're playing a 6th day, which becomes the 5th day, that may not be that important anymore. They may stick to it. But I think they're going to try and extend play early, whenever they get a chance to, because of the severity of the weather and the importance of the game. They're going to have as much play out there as possible. Now, look, if the team that wins the toss, I'm still saying elects to bat. Let's just assume they elect to bat. They may well elect to bowl. I can't confirm or deny what they'll do, but I would normally have said bat. I would argue that India's hand has been played. If they're going to, with their 2 spinners, they're going to want to bat first. They win the toss a bit, and they'd be quite happy for New Zealand to win the toss and then choose to bowl. They'd be quite happy because that's probably what they should do anyway. So on that basis, India should bat first, I would imagine, depending on how the match goes. Again, New Zealand may be very bold and may choose to bowl first, and India, if they win the toss, will bat first. So I think that's what the trend will be. New Zealand are the more likely side to bowl first if they win the toss. India are the less likely side to bowl first. Batting would be their preference, especially with their bowling lineup favouring perhaps more the latter innings of the match, which would be, to me, a very clever thing because India could become very, very difficult to play late in the match, and the pressure would be enormous on New Zealand to bat last, I would argue. Not unlike what happened to England. Yeah, we won't talk about England too much because there's not a lot we can say there. Play's not starting early today, unfortunately. I would like it to, but quite frankly, because of the ground conditions, they're going to be struggling to get it on time, I think. The 23rd of June. Well, today's the 19th, 20th. Yeah, it is the 23rd, which is the sped day. You're right. The 18th was yesterday, 9th and 20th of the weekend, and then the 3 more days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, and okay. Munchie's point, but Munchie, you said to me yesterday about the famous saying that Boycott said, you look up, you look down, you choose to bat, then you look up, you look down, you still choose to bat. The reality is it's a brave man to win the toss and bat. Well, India will have virtually no choice. They will do that. And it's a good toss to lose, you're right, because but if you lose the toss, especially to New Zealand, and they choose to bowl first, well, that's the hand taken out of their hands anyway. So I would normally say the toss is important, and it certainly is. But if you bat well, first or second, you will not have a problem. Now, the first first 1 to 2 hours will be crucial, and I think the way that India should bat by leaving, being very cautious. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that either Sharma or Gill gets out early, but they partner Pujara. Well, that's still not a bad thing. Pujara out there early, I've got this. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But if Pujara opened the batting, I think there's a bit of worth there. If he can, if he's going to go in first shot anyway, second ball, if like it's out, he might as well open, doesn't he? So, there's a bit of a positive, because putting Pujara in early, he'll brunt the attack early on, and he'll take as much strike, and it'll be a very dour start, but at least there'll be no wickets falling, and that could be falling into the hands of India. Okay, let's have a look some more of the commentary here. Will there be any assistance to spinners today or tomorrow? The reality is you've got a man called Ravichandra Ashwin and even Jadeja. He can get wickets at the beginning, middle, or end of the match. He's such a great bowler. So if he feels that the desire to bowl first early on, I'm sure Kohli will throw him the ball. But you would argue if they're full brunt pace attack, if they're bowling first, their bowling attack will be very important. But I think New Zealand are probably more suited to batting against bowlers that come off the bat. So they're going to have trouble against Ashwin. Especially the left-handers. They're going to have trouble. I don't know how much Conway's faced a bowler that caliber, and the reality is he probably hasn't. So between the two sides, Shelton CB has asked, between the two sides, who has got the longest tail? Well, there's no doubt. If New Zealand play 5 bowlers, even though Grunholm is one of the 5, I would argue their tail is a bit longer, because Jadeja and Ashwin, which will be 7 and 8, make the batting line go up to number 8, because Ashwin certainly is a worthy batsman. They'll have bowlers such as Ashwin, Shami, and we've got a very special guest here. I think Vijay's. Are you coming? How are you, Vijay? Can you hear me? We're not getting any volume. I can't hear you. Have you got your volume on? Everyone, this is Vijay Lokapali. He's a extremely well credentialed senior journalist. Now you can hear me talk, but I can't hear you talk, Vijay. And if I'm going to bring my crystal ball out, you may have to. So why don't you get out and come back in? Because sometimes that works. Because I can't. Have you got any volume at all? Where's your volume? Because there's absolutely no sound. At least I'm not hearing sound. Anyone out there hearing sound, guys? Hi. That's better.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you properly.
Now, perfect. Now I can hear you. You're loud and clear.
Yeah. You were saying something, right?
I was saying all about you. But I was talking about, obviously, just to recap, Vijay, we're talking obviously about the World Test Championship. There's nothing else that's more important. This is the crescendo. Even in your career, would you see this as the most significant Test match ever?
Not really. Not
Why?
really. No, Norman. I mean, I can understand the excitement that it's the first World Test Championship final. Fair enough. But there have been other games also. I've witnessed much more exciting games. The one against Pakistan in Delhi in 1999, which was far more exciting because of the fact that both the teams were so strong. And then if you well remember, again, there were a lot of expectations from the India-Australia game, not because what happened at Kolkata in 2001, But the very fact that it produced cricket of the highest quality, and if you go back and see the Australian lineup and the Indian lineup, probably there was not one weak player. And here, of course, I shall be watching the game. I'm very much interested as everyone else, and the fact that it is a final, as they say, rain permitting, we hope to get a good game.
Now, Vijay, let me explain what I was getting at. I wasn't necessarily saying the most exciting match, because that's hard to judge before a match starts anyway. It's the most significant because of the fact we have now, for the first time, elevated a final to a World Cup in Test cricket. Effectively, this is a World Cup. It's called World Test Championship, but I would have called it Test World Cup, quite frankly. That's what I would have called it. And the reason being is it should be the crescendo, the watershed moment of all cricket. This should be the highest point, the pinnacle, above 50 over and 20 over, above IPL, BBL, whatever other L you want to add in. That's what I'm getting at. That's why I meant it more as significant. I'm comparing it to the 1975 50 over World Cup, where West Indies actually beat Australia, not in England. Did West Indies beat England in 1979 in the World Cup?
Sorry?
Did West Indies beat England at the World Cup in 1979?
Yes, it did.
Yep. But in 75 it was Australia, wasn't it?
Yes. So, no, Norman, I can understand all the crescendo which you refer to. India and New Zealand playing this test match. First day was washed out, and everybody is now geared up. A good weekend, good cricket to watch. Fair enough. But I hope we get a good pitch. We get top quality performances from both the teams, because they have some iconic players. You have Virat Kohli in India. You have Kane Williamson in the New Zealand team, and I think world cricket can't think of two better sportsmen, or should I say, two best iconic figures as ambassadors of Test cricket, because both Kane Williamson and Virat Kohli, they've wanted Test cricket to be recognized, to be popularized, and now I think ICC has made an effort to preserve Test cricket, because this is part of the process where they want people to understand that. Yes, T20 is very, very watchable, but there is nothing to match Test cricket, where every session is going to be so engaging. And look at the interest. I agree, the interest has been generated because of the social media, which has contributed hugely in cricket becoming so popular. Not that Normal. I'm sure you have to agree with me that the cricket in the 60s and 70s was amazing, the world over.
Absolutely. We didn't see it. You didn't see it till well after. You got a newsreel in some cases many weeks later, or days later at least. So the reality is, Vijay, what I'm getting at is, I can remember that I'm a young kid watching the 75 World Cup when this gangly Clive Lloyd came out with the West Indies and did such a great job, and then created an era of West Indies cricket. Now, India's already started their era, you could argue, with the Test series, both against Australia and England, and what's happened over the last couple of years. But this, if India win this well, let's say, this puts a massive stamp on Indian Test cricket, a massive stamp. And to win with very little preparation, to win away from home, to win in conditions that don't suit them. A team that in New Zealand, when they're at their best performance ever, probably, and the best team ever, I find all that another mountain to climb, not unlike what happened with Pant back in January. And that to me, I don't know whether you know, Vijay, I've been talking on the streets of Australia, Sydney at least, about who's going to win, etc. And the common denominator is Rishabh Pant.
Okay. Yeah.
They all know Rishabh Pant. And it's because of the impact of his efforts in January. Young kids, right through to the oldest of adults, they're all mentioning his name, first name, even ahead of Kohli, which intrigues me. But let's be honest, if you're watching cricket, recently only, you would only have seen the antics of Pant because Kohli had to go home, which is not Kohli's fault. His wife was giving birth. But the reality was Punt was the man that was seen as the leader on those days with a young side.
Well, no, you're so right about Rishabh Pant making a huge impact, obviously because of what he did in Australia, and he's already had. He didn't have a very bad tour of England, but I think I would
Yeah.
be watching very closely Shubman Gill. To me, Shubman Gill is a big superstar in times to come. Uh, you look at his game; it is so well organized, from his footwork, from his lovely stance, to the strokes he plays, and how he builds his innings for a test match player. He's capable of playing all his shots in the beginning, but to me, Gill is a perfect modern day cricketer who knows how to adapt, and he's a wonderful athlete, very fit man. So I think yes, Rishabh Pant will come and bolster the middle order, but it is going to be Gill who will show you the way at the top when he goes out to open with Rohit Sharma. I'm
And,
sure Australians would come to love Gill.
oh, there's no doubt. I mean, we've got the equivalent of a Shubman Gill in Australia called, I think I made a mention to you on the shows we did with Extra Time, Jason Sanger.
Yeah.
He is a Vivius Luxman style batter, not unlike Gill, magnificent stroke player, captain Australian under-19s, is now in the state sides and is in a lot of the IPL style sides, at least our BBL sides. He's on the fringe, scored a number of centuries against touring teams like England, I think Sri Lanka, even Pakistan. He scored centuries. So he's clearly he's there or thereabouts. But not only is he going to make the Australian side, he's 21, I think he is. He's going to make the Australian side, but I think he'll go on to be captain of the Australian side. And imagine Jason Sanger with Indian background. It'd be great. Leading Australia.
Yes.
I actually think it's a perfect script, to be honest. Now, you have been very neglectful, VJ. You forgot to ask me about my crystal ball. Well, it's here. It's here. And I'm getting a double reading from it. I'm seeing clearly New Zealand, by way of my head to the crystal ball, are going to be a force to be reckoned with this match, especially with their five bowling attack, five seamer bowling attack. But I see India coming out of this as a winner. That's my early prediction.
Yeah, yeah. So you think the New Zealand begin as the favourites? What do you
Yes, I
say?
think they have to. They're actually ranked number one now. They're actually technically ranked number one. I don't know how England fell to 4 and Australia went to 3. I scratched my head at that. Australia haven't played any cricket, yet they've gone up. I find that bizarre. But effectively, New Zealand are ranked 1. They played very well in the Test series just now against England. They won the second Test with a number of players out. They have a lot of their arsenal back. In fact, they've got the full quartet of Southey, Bolt, Jameson, and of course Wagner. And the 5th bowling option will probably go to Grundholm. In fact, New Zealand haven't announced their side, have they? They haven't announced the side. But there was talk, I think, at one of the press conferences that they're going to play to Grundholm. That was mentioned. And that's
probably they read the weather better, because if you see the Indians announce their 11, and they may be tempted to change it, looking at the rain predictions. But my feeling is that you don't go by weather predictions. You pick your best 11. Yeah, you pick your best 11 and then take things as they come. And you're right about New Zealand being a very formidable force as far as the conditions are concerned, because of the pace attack and the fact that most of the batsmen are in good form. And I expect Williamson and Ross Taylor to play the dominating roles, because it's going to be a very impactful moment of their career. They can add an ICC title, to their collection of trophies at home. It will be good for Ross Taylor because he served New Zealand cricket so brilliantly. And Williamson, yes, to me, I think he's the best Test batsman today. You can add Steve Smith, you can add Joe Root, or maybe Virat Kohli, but Williamson stands out. I mean, He is an amazing. Look at his consistency. Look at his very compact game, and the fact that he sets an example with his cricket and behavior both. Because to me that counts. I mean, how you behave on and off the field, where Williamson beats everyone hands down.
The reality is now, I've had a comment that's come through from Barnstead boy, which is Chris Vernon. You haven't met him. Barnstead boy is a regular on the show. The fact that he announced this side so early, playing 2 spinners regardless of the pitch and weather conditions, is a stupid decision. Well, I don't agree with that. Now, why I don't agree with that is because, as you just said, you said it perfectly, Vijay. You play your best 11. If you have if your best bowlers are 2 spinners, you play them. They are the best 2 credentialed bowlers in the Indian side. Maybe Ishant Sharma is up there, but those 2 are the most credentialed. In the New Zealand side, the Bolt and Southey are the most credentialed, and you put them in. But the reality is, if your best players happen to be spinners, so be it. Because we know very well that Ashwin can take wickets on virtually any wicket, and Jadeja's got the guile, the accuracy to pull it out as well, and they work so well in tandem. You can't it's almost like tearing apart Bolt and Southey or Broad and Anderson or Lilly and Thompson. It doesn't work unless they're together, I think, and I think that's a major masterstroke. And I'm glad New Zealand haven't been tempted to match that with a spinner, because their spinners are ordinary. Patel bowled okay. Santner's a one-day bowler at best. They haven't got the bowling potential. They've not got, what was the guy that was there? Oh my God, I've forgotten his name. Vittori. He was good quality. And I'm getting comments saying that at this point I'm wrong. Well, Richard Vernon on that. The reality is it's a matter of begging to differ. The reality is that I think that New Zealand can well afford not to have a spinner, because Rishabh Pant would tear shreds off Patel, and most of the upper Indian batting order would go after Patel with great vengeance, and they would then have the upper hand because they would hit him out of the tournament, out of the game. Now, we mustn't forget something, Vijay. Money rules all sports these days, and very cleverly the ICC have realised that and have put a big price tag on winning this tournament: $1.5 million US and $800,000 US for the runner-up. That puts the right credibility. The IPL, I wouldn't say would pay that for one game. I would doubt. The reality is, it's something that ICC have to now do. They have to outgun other events. And when this, I don't know how much they get for the 50 over or the T20, but I'm pretty sure they don't get 1.5 million US for the game. I'm pretty sure they don't. So I think that's a masterstroke. I'm actually very impressed with the ICC, Vijay. I think they've got this right. I don't care how the tournament transpired. I don't care points or no points or losing points because over rates. I don't care about that. It's irrelevant now, because these are the 2 teams which are qualified. They are deemed to be the best 2 teams. Let them go for it. And we need to, I use the word compartmentalise this game. This is all we should be looking at. There should be no eye on the next game or the next series. I don't care about the next series at the moment, nor should the players. The players should play like a football game. They should play injured. I think they should, if they're good enough. Like Williamson, I believe it's a back problem, I believe, and he's not 100%, but he'll take 95 injections to play today. You bet. And I'm proud of that. I want to see that again. I'm not happy when we continuously have players rested and all that rubbish, because I know that we've got high performance coaches now and they're all geared towards that, but we've lost something. In particular, Australia, Vijay. In particular, Australia. Our bowling lineup is fairly powerless. Stark, Hazel, Cummins, all good bowlers, are so regimented with their training schedules now, you don't see them bust a gut in the game to the point where they can injure themselves. They play controlled cricket. They play within their limitations. I don't agree with that.
Hello, Norman. I'll sign in from my phone because I'm having trouble getting the audio here. I'm signing in from my phone now. I'll exit. I'll come back through the phone.
Okay.
Just give me 30 seconds.
Okay, sure. We're very lucky to have Vijay Lokapali. If you don't know, Indians should know, he has written countless incredible. He's authored countless books. He's also very much the leading editor in a number of publications, including, I believe, The Hindu. He has had a very cherished career. Most of the Indian press look up to him. So he's just going off now to fix his microphone. We're very lucky. And he is so with it, regardless of having been around cricket for a long time. He's on point with his discussions. He knows more than most. He's somebody that I would certainly look up to. And he's back on again. Are you good? Are you good?
Yes, I can hear you very clearly now. Because
and you've actually got a different. Have you changed your clothing? Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me, Norman?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, thank you. Because I was having trouble with the audio there, and is the light okay, funny? Or do you need?
Yeah, everything's fine. You look younger now. Did you do something Did you put some makeup on or something? I'm not sure what you.
Nothing. In fact, you are looking younger. Why? You're looking much younger, much fitter.
Well,
and probably
you're only seeing from here down.
I think it.
Now, look,
no.
Did you see?
Fine.
DJ, you haven't commented. I've got some logoing now everywhere. See? I got on my jacket here.
What's that logo? I can't read it.
Okay, it says "Eyes on Cricket" with Norman Koshnick. And we've got cups.
Yes. I run cricket.
But this
brilliant.
If I make this a souvenir, it's going to be hard because there's only one of them. Let me have to think about that.
Yes, right. I know.
Now, obviously,
that's the most important piece of glass in your house.
Now, the reality is we have some great platforms. You know Extra Time very well. There are a whole host of great platforms. We all work together, which is a great thing. We all compare notes. We share. I really enjoy that. So it's good to have you on my platform as we did on their platform. It's a great thing. All right. Who are the significant 3 players from both sides? From 6 in total, 3 on each. Who are your, if after this game, who would you be rating as 3, 2, 1 from both sides? Did you hear that?
If you ask me, Williamson, Ross Taylor, and Trent Bolt, these should be the critical players as far as New Zealand is concerned. And for India, I'm sure Cheteshwar Pujara, Mohammad Shami, and obviously Virat Kohli, because Virat will have to lead by example, and he's also looking for his first ICC title. So Virat, Pujara, and Mohammad Shami should be the crucial players in the Indian team.
It's good that you're saying both Virat Kohli and Kane Williamson, and I'll answer why. Because their captaincies are extremely important, but their personal play has been, you would argue, a little bit down of late. Both of them, they haven't been batting at their best. So I think that they're going to want to lead by example, which will not only mean their captaincy, but will also mean their batting. I think they're going to be able to hopefully stand up and take notice of their batting. And I find this an intriguing situation where the emergence of a Devon Conway, for example, and the emergence of Rishabh Pant, for example, they've been getting the limelight a lot of late. So I would argue that it's good to return, let's say, somewhat to Virat Kohli and Williamson, and even Ross Taylor, and certainly Pujara is always going to be there. But we're talking about batters more than bowlers. You've said Trent Bolt for New Zealand, and for India, you've said Mohammad Shami, which is interesting, because out of the 5 bowlers they've got, I would put him as the 5th of importance. Not that I think he's not a good bowler, but I would have said Jadeja and Ashwin, along with Bumrah and Ishant Sharma's experience would be more important than Shami. Why have you said Shami? Tell us why you said Shami.
Shami
Did
is
you
a
hear it?
workhorse. Shami is a wicket taker. And can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And also, see, Shami is, he doesn't tire, and he's always excited to look for wickets. He doesn't bowl a defensive line, and that's the best thing. Bowling wicket to wicket, he is always a threat, and he gets the ball moving. He becomes absolutely unplayable. So that's one reason why I like Shami. And he's also, the other day I was talking to somebody. See, his first over and the last over of the day would be of the same intensity. That's what they used to say about Dennis Lilly. He would begin the day and end the day bowling with the same intensity, same speed, same energy. So one can say the same for Mohammad Shami.
My only question with Shami is, having received that injury earlier this year when he broke his arm to the bowling of Cummins, he took a fair while to recover from that. Has that weakened him? Has that injury that he incurred in Australia weakened Shami? Somewhat.
See, injuries will always be at the back of your mind whenever you come back. But he seems to have recovered very well, because if you're preferring Shami to Mohammad Siraj, so
That's
you
true.
have obviously satisfied yourself as far as his fitness is concerned, his recovery from injury is concerned. Because again, Shami has also been preferred to somebody like Umesh Yadav, who's essentially a test match player. So I'm sure Shami is at his fittest, and he's also raring to go.
Oh, well, that's good. But as we also said, to play with an injury sometimes steals that bowler's mind, and they actually bowl better. I think of a guy like Dennis Lilly, for example, or even Jeff Thompson, who played injured on occasions. They played some of their best cricket when injured. So, Munchie, I can see you made a comment about too much dew. Have you got an update? Is it
Lilly
raining?
has played all his.
Sorry, go ahead, Vijay.
Yeah, I was saying Lilly played most of his career with injuries, and Thompson came back from a very crippling injury. So they were very strong men, and you have to be strong-hearted to think of a long career as a fast bowler. So that's probably one requirement you have to have, strength,
Absolutely.
and that's what Shami has.
Oh, there's no doubt. And he bowls a magnificent line of length, which suits England down to the ground. Yeah, he will be a very important bowler. But do you expect? I mean, my predictions, VJ, were that the test innings totals, obviously the first innings being the most significant. The innings totals, the first innings, whoever, I say that the team that wins the toss should bat. If it's India, they should bat, because their bowling strength is spinners. More so, you would argue. If New Zealand win the toss, they may well bowl first. What's your thoughts on that? Oh, he's at the go. He's having problems. But the reality is that, as what Vijay was saying, players have bowled injured throughout their careers now, and that's the good thing about this particular match. Players are going to want desperately to play. So Shami or anyone's not 100%, they're going to still play, because this is a major event for them to be a part of. So I've got people making comments that it's raining. It's heavily raining. I'm not doubting you, but I'm one person, Pulkesh Singh, is actually saying that Shami's bowling is particularly good after rain. Well, that's a great coup to have him on the side. On the three dots on the right and black, you don't see them. So Munchie, your job is about weather. We need you. Naresh, you're joining us. Naresh Mansukani is joining us now. It seems like the reception is not good all round at the moment. Oh, hello, Naresh.
Hi, Norman. How are you?
Good. Actually, we've had
Yeah.
Vijay Lokapali on for the last 45 minutes. He's having a problem with his internet. He'll be back shortly. Sure, you know who Vijay.
Sure.
He's a magnificent.
Yes.
We've had a great discussion. Everyone join. We're
Yeah.
joined by Naresh Mansukani now. We've got a few more coming on. A bit more soon to come. You were that previous session that you were involved with. 40,000 we had.
Yeah. The day before yesterday evening. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So we've been talking quite a bit. There's been some rumor mongering that there's rain at the moment, but it looks like it's overcast, but it's not raining, which means we probably have a sun, which is great. And I've been talking with Vijay about the selections. I don't think India's going to change their team. I think you and I talked before about and I think with a few people about the fact that they're likely to play two spinners, and they'll bowl Shami, obviously Ishant, and Bumrah without Siraj in the team.
Bumrah.
Batting line as this is. The New Zealand side, of course, I haven't named the side yet, but it looks like the discussions that de Grandham's playing, which means no spinner. Which means the four paces.
So both teams, and I think they'll go with their respective strengths who have given them the results in this entire cycle. And as I mentioned that day, Jadeja's role is much more bigger than just bowling left arm spin. Absolutely. So he will play a very critical role. If the seamers do well, we may see Ashwin bowl more overs, but Jadeja then comes handy with the bat. And with Jadeja and Ashwin to follow after Rishabh Pant, we see Rishabh Pant in a very different mode. So Jadeja plays a very, very important role in this entire lineup. And I don't think the grass on the pitch and the clouds in the sky have anything to do with Jadeja. He just needs to play. Yeah.
Well, as we've talked before, Naresh, the best bowlers, the best players need to be in the 11.
Yeah.
And Jadeja and Ashwin are not just two of the best bowlers. They're exceptional fielders, exceptional batters in an all-rounder category almost. That actually, and we talked about we actually mentioned before about who has a longer tail. Well, I'd argue New Zealand does.
Yeah, and they've done well against India, especially. Jamieson, Saudi, they have batted a bit. They've scored few runs against India. When India toured New Zealand, it was the tail that was a bit difficult for India to get out, and then India lost the way in the Test match in that thing. Otherwise, the top order has always been a kind of a good competition. So India would be wary about that, and that's where Shami and Ishant Sharma's experience would come in handy. On how they are utilized and what length they bowl to the tail, and most important, we may see three left-handers in the top order for New Zealand.
That's significant.
So that's again Shami and Ishant. The way off late they have started bowling round the wicket to left-handers, and they've been very effective. That's going to be the key for India. Yeah.
Oh, there's no doubt about that at all. I mean, look, the more I think about this, and I don't want to preempt anything here, the more I have to favour India. And why? Everyone is gearing towards New Zealand winning. They've been basically called favourites, deemed favourites, because number one ranking, the fact they had two matches, they played well, their bowling attacks intact. But I think that's going to play into the hands of India. They've been deemed to be, you could argue, underdogs in a few games of late. Not necessarily at home, but certainly in Australia. Even though there was no fear factor in there, they were still going into those last few tests, having lost Virat Kohli, lost 8 or 9 players. They were going in there as underdogs.
And it's the mindset, Norman. As I mentioned that day, the way these two captains lead the side, even if it is just ends up to be a 3.5 day test match, they will push for a result. That's the kind of mindset this team and the captains lead the team. Technically the test match starts today. We are looking at a 5-day test from today. The 6th day has come into play. So even if we are talking about 450 overs, even if we get 350 overs in these 5 days, over these 5 days, I think these two captains would push for a result.
And I think Virat Kohli, along with Ravi Shastri, are proud men. And if they've decided on the 11 2 days ago, they're not going to change it. I think
they won't change it. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, and what's going to be
Munchie,
interesting, sorry, you have anyone joining? Yeah, I think he's mentioning
I was
about
going to say, Munchie's
we
been giving us.
expect some, maybe
This
some
is it.
around tea time, there could be some rain, yeah.
But otherwise, we'll have a game on.
Yeah. It will continue to
And
be
Munchie's
overcast. Yeah.
It's overcast, which will suit the bowlers. Munchie has said they're still going to change the team up until the toss. Well, we know that, Munchie, but I don't think India will be changing their team. New Zealand haven't even named their team. So I think New Zealand, God, I tell you what, if New Zealand play a spinner, they're making a major, major, major blunder, in my opinion. Because Patel's just not good enough, and Rishabh Pant will want to be in bat all day playing against him. Anyway, all right. The question is, I don't think India will change their playing 11. But if they were to, who would they change? I'm struggling. Will they put Siraj in and drop one of the spinners? That's the only way that you can change it. And it would be a travesty not to have Jadeja and Ashwin on the side. It would be a horrific mistake. Siraj can't bat. Sorry.
No, they would not. They would not look at getting in another seamer. If they have to change, they may consider an additional batsman in Vihari, which may not happen. So? Because it wouldn't happen at all. I don't see that happening because Jadeja adds a different dimension to the side. As I said, that he could be handy if required to bowl few overs. We don't know the way it went in Australia. Every game gave us an injured bowler, so you need that little bit of a bowling attack to take care of those things if something goes wrong. And also Jadeja will be very handy with the bat. He can push the scoreboard. And that's where Rishabh Pant and Jadeja, two left-handers. That's another thing, that we'll have two left-handers in the lineup instead of just Rishabh Pant as a left-hander. So
right.
I don't see that any change happening.
No. Now, sports tax Nitan, Munchie's becoming the regular commentary. He's on this commentary without being physically on it. What about his opinion? Munchie can give his opinion too. I think Rohit Sharma, not unlike Virat Kohli, not unlike Ross Taylor and Williamson, have to show their worth today. They have to say, we are the premier batsman in the world. Here's the reason why.
And he's going to open in England in a test match for the very first time for India. So that's another point for him to prove. He's not opened in a test match. Rather, in Australia was the first overseas series he opened. He's batted as low at number 6 also in Australia. So Rohit Sharma also has lots to prove. Shubman Gill along with him, if they can really remove one session together, they can be very, very attacking. Rohit Sharma should have the Southampton 2019 very fresh, where India started the World Cup campaign. It was very overcast and he scored 100 against South Africa, though it was white ball. So yeah, I agree. There's a lot at stake for Rohit Sharma in this entire series, in this entire tour of England. There's lots for Rohit Sharma to prove as an opener in overseas conditions.
Well, I mean, Munchie and I like his comment. He loves Rohit Sharma, so do we all, I think. But he's a bit loose outside the off stump for my liking. He reminds me of Sehwag. There is a similarity. The problem is it's not just Rohit Sharma outside off stump. You would argue Gill also follows balls. Kohli certainly does, and Rahane does. Pujara is probably the only one you can definitively say not. Rishabh Pant doesn't care where it is; he'll hit it out of the ground. So that's a different story. But the other 4 batsmen are players that play the ball, and I haven't seen enough of the net practice to see whether they've been getting bowlers to bowl and they've been letting it go, because that's the key. If they're going to last that, if India win the toss, what do you think? Naresh, they'll bat or bowl?
I think
India.
Bat first.
So I agree.
Yeah,
India,
bat first. But yes, what you're saying is very critical. Even that comment is very critical. Is take care of your off stump. You need to leave the balls. That's going to be very key on how India leaves the balls. There's nothing about scoring because, as I said, technically the game starts today. Is full 5 days. You should assume is full 5 days. You're not chasing anything. Bat first. Leave the ball outside off stump. Be very particular to be choosy on which ball to score on. And yeah, that's going to be the key. But yes, these are their natural instincts. The way Gill, Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli bat outside off stump, they know it when they connect. They look the best batsmen in the world when they connect outside off. But then they're also giving the chance to edge. So that is what they need to be careful of.
Well, they need to forget their egos and forget that I'm going to be able to drive this ball and let it go.
Yeah.
They're going to have to be,
Yeah.
even though the time is of some essence in terms of the length of the match, maybe less than we hoped. The reality is that they need to do that. You're right, and I agree with you. I'm of that same opinion. The other aspect of it is letting the ball go, but also another very crucial factor for India, to me, is the running between the wickets. They lose too many wickets based on their running between the wickets. I can tell countless times in Australia that they were dismissed by bad running between the wickets.
Yeah, there were
India
two.
has
Yeah,
improved.
Kohli was involved with Rahane, and then Jadeja was involved with Rahane. So yeah, and they were both very crucial moments. Both Rahane and Kohli were well set. Rahane had already scored 100, but as you say, yes, that's going to be the key. But that's more we see when we get into the middle order or low middle order. That issue has been there. That's going to be very, very important. Other thing very important is going to be Saudi will be similar to how Hazelwood and Cummins tested India outside the off stump. Yeah, we have left-handers here, but Gill did very well against Mitchell Starc, and I think that's the reason Gill is in the side even in this game, purely because of Trent Bolt and Wagner. So these are the things India should know. The reason these players are playing is there is something which they have succeeded doing, and they need to keep that in mind against this bowling attack, because they will be tested. This seam attack of New Zealand is really very good, and they'll keep testing every batsman.
We've been joined by Gill.
Good.
How are you, Gill?
I'm good. Hoping, like I always say, hoping for the other Gill to do well, because that would make a lot more people happy. So yeah, that's about it. And running from show to show.
We had Vijay Lokapali on earlier for about a good 45 minutes. Vijay was here. He's had technical problems, but he was excellent. We've got Nourishing Yourself. There are certain people lurking around that might come on at any time, as we know. Chris Vernon's in the car on his way to play cricket today for Seven Oaks Vine. Do you guys know about that team, Seven Oaks Vine? Have I ever told you about that team?
No, not really.
Okay, well, it's a very famous.
Are you getting us to do another oath like you did last time?
No, you've done it now. You don't do another oath, Gill. You do it once, and that's it.
Okay.
You're now forever a rabbiter.
Okay. I thought, for different sports there might be different loyalties, and you might get us to do another oath, or
if you want to, we can do one.
No, I'm fine. There's too much cricket that happens with the Indian team anyway for me to follow any other sport or any other team. That becomes very difficult.
You're getting shaky in your old age there, Gill, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm getting more and more comfortable. So now I know, where I can take slight liberties, and
I love the way you had a go at Alan Malali. That was funny. So hang on, Munchies, Gill's a bunny. Now, are you slighting at my Rabbitohs by saying that, or what is that? Where's that coming from? Gill's whose bunny is what you should be answering. Now, the weather forecast looks. Is it better to lose the toss today? Well, they often talk in terms of, it's a good toss to lose. What do you guys think? What would you do if you were the winner toss? Let's say you're India,
from an Indian perspective, if we look at the last 20, 21 years, the only one time that we have chased a score more than 100 has been once, which was in Adelaide 2003. And this pitch is not going to be anywhere close to that. It's going to seam, and it's going to keep moving around. So I don't think batting second makes any sense, especially when you're going to go in with Jadeja and Ashwin. If it would have rained on the day and the game was starting on the same day, then I might have been tempted to say that okay, maybe it's better to bowl first. But since it's starting from scheduled time of day, and there's no rain today, so I think it sort of makes sense to even bat first, because you also have to look back a little bit of history. In 2002 Leeds, conditions were similar. India played two spinners and two pacers and still came out on top. They backed the batting to do the job. Johannesburg 2018, again, very difficult conditions to bat. Rain was around, but still Indian batsmen chose to bat first and took on the pressure, and then India ended up winning. Because what happens with these pitches is that when the moisture starts coming out, they start drying up a lot early, and the bounce becomes more and more variable. And with someone like Kyle Jamieson in the option, and with his high release, variable bounce can be much more difficult to face, I feel, than playing seam or swing. Because with seam or swing, you can actually sort of try and pick it from the hand or from the shinier side of the ball. But when there is variable bounce, how do you pick which ball is going to stay low or is going to bounce high? So I'd suppose as Virat Kohli, I'd still like to bat first, but I would completely understand if Kane Williamson goes in with five-man pace attack of Jamieson, Saudi, Bolt, Henry, and Wagner if he chooses to bowl first. So I think it could mean different for both the teams because they are structured that way.
Just before
probably,
Naresh,
sorry.
Naresh, before you come on, I'll just make sure. Hi, Chris, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Morning.
Hi,
Chris. Where you had the Vijay Lokapali, one of the most famous Indian press men. He wrote many books. He was on earlier. Now we've got equally as famous Gill and Naresh online as well. We were just talking about the toss,
Morning,
Chris. Morning,
yeah,
all. Who have we got there?
That was John. Do you remember from the taxi? He's a watcher, JP Bowden.
Bring him in.
He's putting the flag up at the moment. So I'm at our home ground.
Where are you?
At Seven Oaks Vine. So this is our home ground. And then we've got the pavilion here. If I turn it, if I show you the pavilion.
Right.
Morning yoga over there. But yeah, so I thought I'd tune in and say good morning.
So, what was the ground that I played you on?
I can't remember. It was in the Middlesex, Finchley or East High Wycombe, East Wycombe or something.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Chris. So Naresh was about to continue on from Gill what's the weather like where you are?
Cloudy, but I think from what I've seen of the forecast is that you should get some cricket in at Southampton today. It's going to be a bowling day though. It's going to be pretty overcast and pretty gloomy, I think. So, the only thing I was thinking this morning is that did India announce their side too early? I don't see why you would ever want to be playing two spinners in these conditions. And India can obviously change, and I disagree strongly that you pick your best side regardless of conditions. Surely the point is you pick your best side taking conditions into account. So I wonder whether they're just slightly starting to think whether they might play the extra seamer and not play two spinners.
Okay, well that's interesting that you're saying that. I think Naresh and Gill, we're pretty much the other way. We're thinking more the other way. But when it comes to the toss, you're suggesting that the team that wins the toss should what?
I think in these conditions, if it is going to be like it is here, and I'm a couple of hours away from Southampton, but I think that captains tend to take the safe option and they bowl. Overcast in England with a Duke's ball. I think that very rarely sides bat. I think it's a risk, and especially for India, who know that New Zealand's strength is all in their seam attack. If you win the toss bat and you're 50 for 5, you're going to get absolutely hung up. So I'd be surprised if the side who wins the toss doesn't bowl first.
You see, I'm brought up in Australia, and I'll let Naresh talk on it, but I'm brought up in Australia. As I think Jeffrey Boycott would always say as well, you win the toss, you think about it, you bat. You think about it.
But in Australia, the weather's a lot better in Australia. The balls are different. Typically, it's a lot better batting wickets, isn't it? Here it's overcast. It's going to swing. It's been wet. It's going to be a bit soft. It's not quite so. And I'm a batter, so I would always say lean on the batting bat first as well. But I think you have to take the conditions into account.
Fair enough. All right, Naresh, what were you going to say? Naresh, you had some thoughts.
I was going to say New Zealand would like to, and I was just adding to Gill that New Zealand would like to bowl first. Because of their seam attack, they would want to bowl first. India going with the strength of the side they have decided on, as we said that Ashwin and Jadeja would be effective day 4, day 5. So probably they would like to bat first. India would like to bat first, and New Zealand would like to bowl first. So this may go in each one's favor. But yeah, as Chris said, the way the conditions are, India does plan to stay with the same team. I don't think they would announce a different team now. because they are
No.
weakening their batting. If they get in a seamer, they may just weaken the batting. So
we've just, Anshuman Gautam, aka Music Harmony, has asked that very question, but the English think about the same level. We talked about just now, we've answered your question. I think that with New Zealand, I follow this. I know Chris is differing from it. De Granholm, Jamieson, Bolt, Wagner, Southey. I can't see New Zealand changing that. There was strong discussion from, was it Williamson or Taylor, that said that they're going to put de Granholm in this match in the press conferences. So I would argue they're going to both be quite strong on that and have faith in their players. And I think New Zealand won't miss a spinner, and India will appreciate having spinners. There's a very different approach to both sides. And I know Chris doesn't believe what I'm saying, but you do play your best side. You say you play the best side for the conditions. Fair enough. But I think this is a test, win at all costs. You put your best players on the field. Full stop.
But it was, for example, in India when England played in the winter. The first two tests, Stuart Broad didn't play. He's in England's best side every day of the week, but in Indian conditions he wasn't. So it's horses for courses. I just wonder, do you think that with the Indians, is it easier for them to pick Jadeja and Ashwin and leave out Siraj from a personnel / media fallout than it is to leave out the bloke who's played 2 tests and isn't really a big name player? An easier selection for them to make, just to pick that and go with, than take a punt and pick the extra seamer.
Yeah, go for it, Gill.
Yeah, I think I know England did not play Broad, and then they rotated Anderson and Archer in the second test. But I do think that England did commit a mistake by playing Moeen Ali and not playing an extra pacer in the second test for sure, because there was enough bounce as we had seen from Oli Stone. So England actually fell into the trap of playing a spinner just because India were playing 2 spinners, when I certainly feel that they would have been better suited to play another pacer, even though the pitch was turning on day one, because there was enough bounce in the pitch as well. And I certainly think that they could have used Mark Wood and Oli Stone together on even in Ahmedabad when the test when the venues changed for the third and the fourth test, because there was enough bounce for both the bowlers to take use of, rather than have someone like Joe Root bowling that many overs, and then Jack Leach having no support in terms of just having Dom Bess. So I do think that England went wrong over there. And like I said before, New Zealand, I'm sure that if they win the toss, they might choose to bowl first. But with India, I won't be surprised if they go on and go on to bat first, because like I said, in the last 20 years, whenever they've chased down a target overseas, only once a target has been more than 100 runs, which was in Adelaide in 2003. The last time when India won in England when choosing to bowl first was when they were chasing a target of just 70 and they had lost 3 wickets. So that will also be on the back of their minds. And when they won in Trent Bridge last time, conditions were similar. They still chose to bat first after winning the toss, and they were able to win the test match comprehensively by 200 runs. So I don't see any changes happening, because that will also send out a message that they're not confident of what they did. That is one. And if the result doesn't go India's way, then the amount of debate and the self-doubt it would create in the think tank itself, it could be catastrophic for the next series that comes up. So I don't see any changes happening in the 11, and I won't be surprised if India win the toss and still choose to bat first.
Yeah, let's just imagine it goes as per program. Kohli loses the toss, as he seems to do a lot. It'll be in the hands of Williamson. Sorry? Well, Gill, you said something.
He's lost 60% of the tosses in all formats.
Well, the chances are he's going to lose it again. And I don't think that's going to be a problem, because he'll probably end up batting, because New Zealand will certainly bowl. And then it'll be exactly the same as if he won the toss. So I don't think that's going to be a loss. I quite frankly think, unless something dramatic happens, we're going to see India batting first, regardless of who wins the toss.
The test match comes down to India's batting, really. I don't see India out bowling New Zealand at all. I think man for man, New Zealand have got a better attack in these conditions. I even even the three seamers, I think Ishant's probably the best seamer, in terms of pedigree wise, but the four seamers that New Zealand have in these conditions are probably better man for man. So the test is going to come down to how well India bat, really. It's a top order that's been a little bit out of form, even in home conditions, and now they're going to come over here. It's going to do a bit. They're probably heartbroken. India. They've practiced the game they had as practice would have been boiling hot, flat wicket. All of a sudden it pours down and it overcasts, and it's probably going to have a hit of green in the wicket. So there's going to be some nerves in that Indian top order, because apart from England, this is the best side to be playing in these conditions. So it all comes down to how well India bat. If they bat well, then they've got a very good chance. But New Zealand, because that New Zealand are going to bat and bowl pretty well, so it's going to purely come down to India's batting, I think, this test.
So one important question I've got, a bit off track, a bit digressing, but are you not wearing your eyes on cricket with Norman Constantine into the game today? Is it not what the normal uniform?
Me? No, I've got my 7 Oak stuff on today.
All right. Look, the other thing, there was a question here that Akash Chopra had brought up about five things that India should keep in mind when they're playing New Zealand. What do you think those 5 things are that India have to keep in mind when they're playing New Zealand? Naresh, you go for it. What do you think? What would be one of the 5, or a few of the 5 things?
I think one is definitely their left-handers. How to keep them under check, what line to bowl to their left-handers, because Blunden and Latham did well when India toured New Zealand, and Ishant was the only one who got a 5er in the first test, and then he was injured. So Indian bowlers should be wary of what length to bowl, what line to bowl to the left-handers, the openers, and there's going to be mostly Nicholas at number 5 coming in. So that's one of the 5. I don't recollect what the others were.
Oh, that's okay. Gill, tell us what do you think? What would you say India needs to keep in mind when they're playing a team like New Zealand?
See, firstly, they'd have to be wary of not flirting outside the off stump initially, and they are, apart from that, they also have to make sure that they don't go into a shell, because if they go into a shell, then they could really allow New Zealand to bowl the way they want, especially if Neil Wagner gets into a rhythm, then he could bowl 10 overs and you wouldn't even know that 10 overs have passed by, and would keep on creating pressure. The other is you'd want to make sure that there, someone like Mohammad Shami, if he takes the new ball, then he's on his radar straight away and not spraying it around. Sometimes he can do. So that is there, and then don't allow Williamson to play on the back foot, because if he's going to play on the back foot, regardless of which bowler it is, he's going to keep playing on the back foot, and there's not much you would be able to do, because there's very little chance that you can dismiss the likes of Williamson and Root if they are playing on the back foot. It's not going to happen.
So they're 3 very good points. Definitely around the line and length to bowl the left-arm batters in New Zealand, especially the openers. Definitely leaving the ball, playing the right line, and actually playing the line of the ball, not following the ball. And that will allow them. It's a good technique to, when you're batting off something, you bat down the line off something. The ball moves away, you're letting it go effectively. The third thing about you're saying batting off the back foot, Gill. I agree with that too. Letting the ball come to you, and that leaves you more time to negate the swing or the seam movement. Absolutely. That's 3 things. What do you think the other 2 things are, Chris?
Oh, I had a question for Gill and Naresh, actually. Do you think that if New Zealand didn't have any lefties, or they had one, do you think they would have not played Ashwin? Do you think that they've forced to pick him, or they can pick him easier because of the 4 or 5 left-handers that New Zealand have? Do you think that factors in? Do you think that with that, if they had Ashwin's record overseas is better recently, but historically he's a lot better at home. Jadeja is probably the go-to spinner, I would suggest, overseas. Do you think that the left-handers basically have forced India's hand, if that makes sense, and means that they wouldn't picked him because of it?
No, I think Ashwin would have been picked for sure. One, he's the leading wicket taker for India in this test cycle. he is really at the top of his forms. Looking at the last 8 test matches, or rather, he played 7. He wasn't there for the Gaba test. And most important, Norman, one of the points needs to be looked at: can Ashwin be brought in early, the way they handled Labuschagne and Smith in Australia, when Williamson and Taylor are there? So maybe Ashwin could be brought in early in attack, and that wouldn't matter whether it's a left-hander, right-hander. Ashwin has been very effective, especially in these last 7 tests that he's played. So Ashwin picks for himself, irrespective of the left-handers. Yes, that would be more effective. He'll be more dangerous because of the 3 or 4 left-handers which New Zealand will have.
Very good point, Gill.
Yeah, so I think Vernon, Chris is making is a good point that if there weren't so many left-handers, then there would have been a debate on Ashwin's place for sure. Maybe it could have gone either way. If it was overcast or a green wicket, then maybe we could have seen Ashwin not making it, because Ashwin didn't play the 2 test matches in New Zealand. So it could have been interesting to see how it goes, but really difficult to call. But there would have been a debate for sure. If New Zealand would have had only one left-hander, then maybe it would have been up for debate. Maybe we could have seen Hanuma Vihari come in as an extra batsman, or or maybe a Shardul Thakur coming in. I'm not really sure, but it would have been up for debate.
Just quickly, guys, the players are all out on the pitch warming up, so they looks like they're getting ready to start. Virat Kohli's wearing a puffy jacket, and for preparation, plenty of ball throwing, lots of practice going on. I'm assuming, Chris, unless you know better than me, that they'll start on time.
Yeah, I haven't heard otherwise. I think I saw some pictures on Twitter that the sun was out in Southampton this morning, so that's obviously pretty promising. So I think it's a good idea that they've had the reserve day. They can play on day 6, as it were. So that's obviously a good thing. I think everyone's just keen to see some cricket, aren't they? Really?
Absolutely.
COVID and everything. I can imagine that. I mean, I know that I don't know what it's like in India, but I can imagine that everyone's just really keen to watch cricket. It's a bit of a national.
Well, for us, it's off season of cricket. Is the rains have come in, the season monsoon has already started. So yeah, where I am in Pune, even I haven't seen sunlight since yesterday. There's been rain.
It's raining in Sydney as well.
Was it a good lift to the Indian spirits watching, say, the England-New Zealand Test matches? Is there just a love for Test cricket and a love for everything there? Is it just people just want to watch it on the telly, and with the T20 blast and everything, and the 100 coming up? Is it just people are just happy watching some cricket regardless if it's India or not?
No, if you see, you'll have a very selective segment following Test cricket or watching it throughout. They would be following the game, but not necessarily watching it throughout the day. But yeah, Conway has got into lots, because we know that we were to play this final against this side. So his performance as Lords, his double 100, is a big talking point on the way he made his debut. And yes, the entire debate is around the team selection for England, not playing a spinner, and whatever the rotation policy. So that's a huge point of debate.
We are only 5 minutes, guys,
from the toss, yeah,
and teams, obviously.
I think that's going to what Naresh said about the spinner. Knowing what the Indian media can be like, having followed it a little bit on Twitter, it's going to be really interesting to see how this Test match unfolds, because England didn't play a spinner in 2 tests. New Zealand are unlikely to play a spinner. Granted that their strengths are in their pace attack, but I think if India loses Test or their selection comes into question, they're going to say the 2 best sides in these conditions in the world didn't play a spinner and have loaded up the seamer. Why are we picking 2? I think that's the problem. I know that Jadeja can bat, but you would say that Vihari or an Agarwal batting at 6 would score more runs. They're out-and-out batsmen. So it'd be interesting to see, and I don't know what it'll be, but interesting to see a media fallout depending on how the game goes. When they're the best 2 sides in English conditions didn't even think about spinner. Why on earth are we picking 2? So does that make sense? I think that could be an.
It does. It makes absolute sense. But the only issue, I think the Indian media will centre on if the Indian batters fail. That's where the centering of discussion will be at, because I can't see the bowlers failing. Gill.
See, the thing about Indian media is that you could play the best 11 for the conditions and lose because the opponent has performed better, and they'll still try and nitpick and blame the 11 that has been played. Uh, a classic example of this is what happened in Gaba. The first day, everyone was at Shastri's and Rahane's throat that how could you not play Kuldeep? How could you play Sundar or a Natarajan or a Shardul ahead of Kuldeep, who's been in the team for so long, etc., etc. And in 4 days' time, when India had won the Test match, courtesy contributions from all three of them, because there was a 60 odd by Thakur, there was a 60 odd by Sundar. Sundar also got spit out in the first innings. Thakur took 7 wickets in total, and Natarajan also chipped in with I think 3 wickets in the first innings and then 1 wicket in the in the second innings. There was no talk of how both Rahane and Shastri were not good enough. In fact, the whole narrative had changed that they've created history. So I think both Kohli and Shastri, and in fact whosoever has been in the setup of Indian cricket would know that how fickle the Indian media is, and you really can't base your opinions on the criticism you might get from them, because a lot of that criticism is in hindsight, and with the gift of hindsight, all of us can make better decisions.
That's
if
right.
we could. So
There's a comment from Dravid, right, on this. You don't win or lose because of the 11 you select. You win or lose on how those 11 play on the field. So
yeah, like and he summed it up perfectly. So like I said, I don't think Kohli and Shastri are the kind of people who get worried too much about the media. Not anymore. Not when they've been at the helm for 3 to 4 years now, and have tasted decent amount of success. Yes, you could hold the 2019 World Cup against them for not having a proper number four, but I think we are past that time now. They've shown that there's enough bench strength, and hopefully they'll crack the limited overs format soon as well. So I think
Just quickly,
Indian media,
the pitch has been. Oh, hello, you're showing us your pitch, Chris. We
Yeah,
could pretend and say that was Southampton.
this is our wicket for today. I don't know how easy you can see it. We've had
We
a
can
bit of
see it
rain.
truly.
There's the covers. So
Chris,
Are you
Chris,
today?
just leave every ball which is being pitched on the fourth or the fifth stump.
thank
No
you.
need to play ahead.
It's something that I've struggled with over the years. If you see me bat, you'd realise. So yeah, thank you.
I mean, Chris, Gill and Naresh, when I played Chris for the SCG11, they had a ring in this IPL bowler batter, and we put our worst bowler on. We got him our second ball caught on the boundary, and we were laughing our heads off. What was his name?
I can't remember them. I'm gonna have to go.
You
I've got
can
to do
remember
a
his
few bits.
name.
I've got
He
to
was
do
in
a
your
few
team.
bits.
Okay.
I can't remember.
But he was
I
he was an
don't-
IPL player, and we got him our second ball.
I've got to go, guys, but I'll chat to you for a bit. It's good to see you.
All right, Chris.
Bye.
Thanks.
All the best, Chris.
enjoy the
Hope you
game.
have a good game.
Enjoy the game.
See you guys.
Right.
Bye.
Right.
Bye.
It was good to have someone on a cricket field in England, wasn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
There's a comment of the grass. There's a lot of grass on the pitch. It's been shaven, but still a bit of grass. And Gavaskar just now maintains that even though it's overcast and etc., he still maintains that spinners could come into play in day 3 and 4. He's maintaining that now. Having looked at the wicket, he's maintaining it.
They could because and it's not just because of the cracks. Like we had spoken, I think a couple of days earlier when Naresh was also there, that Jadeja and Ashwin aren't the kind of bowlers who just rely on the wicket to bowl. They're very good even when wicket has moisture, because they're able to then extract more bounce by creating different angles and releasing the ball a little higher than what they usually do. So we're going back to the same thing that we've been discussing essentially, that this Indian bowling attack which is being picked up is the best one for regardless of which conditions you play in. Whether you play on a sporting track in India, where the ball reverses and may not do that much with the new ball, then you have the likes of Shami and Ishant bowling in tandem and creating that angle where batsman could get out LBW, or whether you be playing on seaming track or a green wicket. So I think this Indian bowling attack is pretty much pretty much covered for all bases except for having a left arm pacer, which we currently are looking for one in the domestic circuit. But till the time we don't have that, I think this is a very well-rounded bowling attack, and there's not much you can complain, regardless of how the result is. I still think that it's the right 11 that's playing.
Could I make the point that I'm sure you would make anyway? These 5 bowlers together have not bowled together. Is that correct?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
the first time that
For the first time. Yeah.
Well, that's so you'd argue you'd have to argue this is the best 5 bowlers out of India.
it is
Siraj is
because the reason that it hasn't happened is that Jasprit Bumrah has played only 2 test matches at home, and when he played those matches at home, Jadeja and Shami were injured. And when Bumrah was playing overseas, then you had one of Ishant or one of Jadeja, one of Ashwin or one of Jadeja sitting out. And when both Jadeja and Ashwin played in Australia, in Melbourne and in Sydney, you had Ishant and Shami missing out because of injuries. So it is what it is. So I hope that India start with this bowling attack in the first 2 tests versus England for sure, and then maybe look to rotate the third pacer because of the workload that they'd have. But yes, it is the best bowling attack that you can put on the park, regardless of where you play.
I want to quote what Ravi Shastri just said. Apparently, Ravi Shastri has told Mike Atherton on TV. He calls this the big daddy of World Cups, of all World Cups. He says that I've been part of the 83 squad. I've commented on many World Cups, but this is the big daddy. The toss is now. And when it comes to the satisfaction for a player, nothing beats Test cricket. I agree 400% with this comment. This is the big daddy. This is the real show. Apparently, live coverage has started, and the toss is about to happen. Munchie is just I'll try and I've actually got ability to see it. So this is I'm getting really excited, guys. And we're losing viewers, by the way. I understand because they're watching TV. They're not going to watch us fools.
Yeah.
But okay, we'll just quickly we'll get the toss done. And then
Norman, you might be good looking. You might add a lot of insight and analysis to the game, but let's face it, none of us are Nasir Hussain. So yeah, I don't blame the viewers.
Okay, so New Zealand has won the toss and they're bowling.
Yeah, like
That's predictable.
like
Yeah.
So New Zealand, as Cameron has won the toss and he's bowling, so that doesn't India are not to be blamed for the toss.
And you were talking about Norman Shastri's comment. There's one more comment he made because of this debate about India announcing the team early. He said if this turns out to be just a 3-day test, there would be no game until the 3rd day, and then we go for a toss. We would have decided. Otherwise, we keep the pitch out of equation. That's his comment. So he is going. His message is we are playing our best bowling attack.
I like it. We're just
throughout this game, judging by the cool weather and things. So for us, it's focusing on it. The key decision you had to make was over the balance of your bowling attack. Which way have you gone? We've gone for 4 frontline seamers and Colin de Grandhomme as our all-rounder. So
no spinners. New Zealand have got no spinners.
I told you.
Yep.
But is De Grandhomme playing or is
The Grandhome's
playing?
playing, and the 4 frontline bowlers. Bolt, Southey, Jameson, and Matt Wagner. So, as per program. So that's it. They're not bowling any spinners. It's intriguing, isn't it? It is a bit intriguing because England got smacked without using a spinner, didn't they, in the first 2 test matches? And now in this particular match, New Zealand.
See, again, Norman, same thing. They're playing their strength. Yeah. That's their strength. And they also want to look at, in case they fall in trouble, they want someone to bat well because India is playing Ashwin and Jadeja. So they want that number 7, batting up to 7. De Grandhomme can do that after Watling. So, both teams have thought well before going into this game of what they're
I think so. I think they've both done their best. They really have. I'm very happy with both teams. There are now no excuses. We cannot. There is no conjecture. Oh, they should have played a spinner. Oh, they should have done this. No, this is
not at all.
Virat Kohli's about to talk. So yeah, de Grandhomme, 4 seamers.
generally, you're a bat first person. Yeah, look, we would have probably bowled first as well.
Oh, Virat reckons he would have bowled first.
That's why he says those things when he's.
Virat reckons he would have bowled first. Well, he's just saying that, isn't he? He's just saying that to cover his butt.
Yeah.
I think he's covering it. So that's a clever way of putting it. Because if both teams decide to bowl, then nobody can be talked about making a wrong decision, can they?
Not really, because
So yeah, I mean, India will keep the same side. He hasn't said it yet, but he will. India's going to keep the same side.
might change or vary, and that helps us to bat deep as well. And looking at those two spinners, they can probably bowl in any condition.
Two spinners, he's just said.
Has the pitch or something to offer, and those guys are pretty accurate to create some pressure as well. How much excitement in your team about the chance to become the inaugural World Test champions? Well,
Yeah, so there's not even a mention of a change of the Indian side. Two spinners.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all you needed to hear. Two spinners.
Yeah, he just said these two can bowl in any conditions. So I think he's completely eliminating that debate on things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm actually really happy because I don't want to spend time with people saying it's because they're playing in England, it's because the weather's bad, because someone didn't play a spinner, someone batted first. All that bull twank is gone. Don't you like that? Nobody's going to be talking about the wicket. No one's going to be talking about selections, about the toss. It's purely two teams now at the top of their games playing to win.
Yeah.
You can't get a better way of summarising it. This is ideal now. This is excuse-free cricket now. Is that exciting? And I don't want Gill. Are there any excuses here, Gill? There are no excuses, are there?
I'm not making any excuses.
Not you. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about generally.
Yeah. Okay.
No, they
But
can
it's
be
true.
absolutely no
I mean, I'm not
excuses.
talking. Yeah, even what Chris Vernon was saying earlier about certain aspects of blah blah, all irrelevant now. If no consequence, the toss has gone quite well. Actually, Kohli would probably have batted. Let's be honest, but anyway, he's doing it anyway. This is going to be uber exciting. The first overs of this match, which we're going to end our program before that. The first overs of this match are going to be electric. Who are they going to open the bowling with? New Zealand will be Bolton Southey, I guess. Or will it be James?
Bolton Saudi, yeah. I think it will be Saudi and Bolt. But I think he'll quickly rotate. He'll continue to rotate very quickly. It won't be long spells. He will try to get in pressure with the other two, especially with Jamieson. Jamieson would also come in early.
So if India had bowled first, who would they have opened the bowling with? Bumrah and Ishant?
I think Shami and Ishant.
Or Shami with Ishant?
Ishant would have started for sure. Difficult to pick between Bumrah and Shami, really. Maybe depending upon who's bowled better in the intra-squad game. Because I am always a little worried about Shami not being on radar. But if Shami's on radar, then he can be as good as anyone in the world with the new ball. So yeah, it's a tough one, really.
All right, guys. There's about 20 minutes before play. I'm certainly not going to be on until the start of play. We're going to watch this game. Have you got what platforms are you watching the game? Star Sports got it?
Star Sports, yeah. I'll be watching on television. Star Sports, yeah.
Okay. Just a quick question. The only thing that Munchie's saying, which I think we can talk about a little bit, he said about there's no young in the New Zealand side, which is disappointing.
I have a theory here. I think Munchie comments whatever you tell him before the show, and he's going to comment because whatever he comments is something that you've already spoken of. I think he's someone who comments on your behalf, so that you can say, okay, I have someone who's backing whatever I say. I just feel that because I don't think anyone would have said that Will Young should play ahead of Henry Nichols or Kane Williamson or
he's not got the best performance history. Of course, he doesn't match the guys that are there. I just hope like hell in my opinion, we see Virat Kohli get runs, and I would like to see Ross Taylor get runs. I don't know why, but I want those because they deserve to be on a big note here. Because let's be honest, this is probably Ross Taylor's last match, and it's definitely BJ Watling's last match. Because Ross Taylor said himself he would have retired the 19 World Cup if they won. So he's played to this point, and he's in a position where he can win a World Cup. Let's call it a World Cup, World Test Championship, and he probably will then be in a position where he would retire on top. What do you think?
I think Ross Taylor will still play. I don't see him calling it a day. So because he said that he might call it a day if New Zealand won the 2019 World Cup. What if they don't win now? So I think
it's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah. So I don't think he's because from what I've heard, a lot of cricketers say and top level athletes, they say that you call it a day when you know you're not good enough, or you can't contribute, or there isn't enough motivation
The
for
desire.
you. Yeah. And with Ross Taylor, if you look back at his numbers in the last 4-5 years in ODIs at number 4, he's probably as good as any number 4 in world cricket today. I know where his sentiment might be coming from because he's been dropped from the T20 side, but in all fairness, I think he deserved to be dropped from the T20 side. He averages some 20, 24, 25 odd and has a strike rate of 120 over 100 T20 international games. Yeah, I think that he's been fairly dropped from the T20s, but I don't see him retiring after this game easily. I think he'll probably play another year, or might stay on till the 2023 World Cup, because he's one of the better players of spin in that New Zealand batting lineup, and he also has the experience of playing in India. He played in the 2011 World Cup as well, and we know what he did in that 2011 World Cup, and he's a much better batsman than what he was then, because at that point of time he hardly used to play a shot in covers. He would just get outside the line and look to swing everything through the leg side. But now his game has evolved a lot. He does play a short square of the wicket on the offside. He does play in the covers. So I think New Zealand would be better served if he plays for another year or two, especially in the ODI format.
Fair point. Fair points. All right, guys.
Norman, excuse me. I'll have to leave before the game starts. Got to wrap up something here.
Who's going to win this match?
India has to win it, Norman.
So I will have a post-match show if you're available. I'll let you know the time. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Thanks. Bye, Gurpreet. Bye. Enjoy the game.
Bye.
Thanks, Naresh. We won't stay much longer, Gill. So, when are you having your show? Are you having your show?
No, so in my show, I don't do these previews because there are so many shows where you can have the preview and do the same talk. Also, when I have to be on your show and a couple of other shows where I have to discuss the preview, I don't see a sense of having a show on my channel about the same thing. My channel is mostly about having people who've been in the sports industry to come and talk about their experiences and journey. So I had Ronak Kapoor of Cricket Info.
Fantastic.
And then Vijay Lokapalli sir was there. He's someone who's been in the profession of sports journalism in India 15 years longer than I have been on this planet. So you can imagine the kind of experiences and journey he's had.
He was on the show before you came. He was on my show.
I know. So just to put things in perspective, when we talk of longevity in sports, we talk of Tendulkar, we talk of Messi, we talk of Federer. Vijay Lokapalli sir was in the field of sports journalism 8 years before Tendulkar made his debut, and he's still continuing now. He made his he was in journalism 6 years before Messi was born. So, and he was in journalism much before color TV came to India. So it was fascinating to interview him. Then I interviewed Jared Kimber, and Jared Kimber is amazing. I'm sure you know that as well. The amount of research he does and the amount of knowledge he has, he actually made me feel that I know nothing about cricket, which could be true if we are doing a comparison with Jared. And then there was another analyst, Ben Jones, who's worked with a few T20 sides over the world, who works for CricViz. So what my show really focuses on is having people who've covered sport and have been in that field for long enough to share their memories, their experiences, and speak a little bit on the modern trends in the game. We really don't. I really don't do a show which is specific to a game, because there are far too many people doing the same thing, and I like doing my own analysis than inviting someone and then speaking with them, because I feel that this way it's much better. I am able to put across my knowledge and my analysis. So
Absolutely. And you do it excellent. You do it
yeah, so
excellently well.
I
And that's
think
why I've got you on this program.
yeah, so I think me doing those analysis on my show is something which is not happening very soon. So just want to tell the viewers of your channel that I'm going to be here much more often than what I've been so far. Uh, Hopefully, let's see. It all depends on the Bharat Army also sometimes wanting me to be there. And before coming here, I was with them. During the lunchtime also, I'll be with them. So that's how it is. And yeah, regardless of the platform, I just enjoy talking about the game.
And you do it
I,
excellently
I, I
well.
would I would wish someone calls me up to discuss the New Zealand the West Indies South Africa Test match as well, which I was watching last night. I really don't miss any cricket. So yeah,
Fantastic.
that's about it.
Fantastic. It's interesting because the situation with Jared Kimber, I've known him for about 15 years. I've known him since when he very much just started, and it was amazing to be with Jared when he was like raw to the whole thing, and he would play around more than be factual. And it was amazing how he's developed into what he has. And of course, amongst you saw The Death of a Gentleman, the documentary, which is magnificently done. And he's a great guy, and I like him a lot. He's a great friend. So is Belinda Farrell. So is Jeff Lemon, Adam Collins. They're all people that I know very well. They're in my circle, if you want to call it that. And I'm very.
I'm trying to get Melinda on my show. She's been busy. If you talk to her, please drop in a word.
Well, you get Kapoor, and I'll get Melinda.
Okay.
We'll do a bit of a swap-a-roo, all right?
Okay.
I actually want to get I can't remember forgetting Vikrant.
Vikrant, okay.
Yeah. I actually know him. He's been on my social media for years. We know each other, but we haven't physically met, which is an interesting byplay. All right.
It's surprising considering you've worked with Indian channels, you've worked with ABP News, you've worked with Extra Time. It's surprising that you haven't had Vikrant on the show so far.
No, I haven't. We engage, but it just hasn't happened. We don't physically. We've engaged many times over many years before I really knew what he was all about. Actually, a lot of the people I deal with, and I think, oh, was that you? I didn't even realize because I didn't connect the dots properly. All right, so we now have 7:19. We've got 10 minutes to go. Munchie says he loves your analysis, which is a high praise. He says he watches The Death of a Gentleman, which we talked about, and something about Ashwin. Oops, my bad. I don't know what happened there, but I'm very, very, very lucky, Gill, to have you on the show, have Naresh on the show, VJ earlier on, Anshuman Gautam, which is also Music Harmony, Chris Vernon, and obviously Munchie in the background as well. It's all been fantastic. I think we might call it a day, and I'll come back. I mean, what are you doing after the show, Gill?
After this show, I'd watch the game, obviously.
No, I mean after the real show, the game.
After the game, I don't know. Today I'm going to go visit my cousin. She lives nearby. It's her birthday, so yeah, a little family time, I suppose.
All right, if you're available, I'll get you to come. I'll create a link and you will have an after show if it's worth talking about, which it will be. All right.
Yeah.
I'll let you go and have a coffee or tea or whatever and get settled. And thanks again, Gill. You've been fantastic. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
All right, guys. I'm going to do a little 2-minute monologue, so I'll say goodbye to you, Gill.
Okay.
All the best. Talk to you after the show. All right, guys, that was wonderful. We had obviously VJ Lokapali. Then we had the likes of Naresh Matsukane. We then had Gill come on and Chris Vernon. We had a great panel of 4. Was it 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. It was 4. I can't even count now. But yeah, Gill, VJ, Naresh, and Chris, 4 panelists there who joined me. It's been fantastic. So we'll go now. Thanks, Munchie, again as always. I'm having an after show talk. We'll be on, and I haven't worked out the time yet, but it'll be after the game, whenever that is, and we'll go from there. All right. So thanks, guys. Thanks a lot for your time. I'm just going to check if there's anything else we need to talk about before we go. Let's have a look. It looks like we've covered all bases. New Zealand have won the toss and have elected to bat. Very close. He would have done the same. That's right. New Zealand won the toss, elected to bowl. I'll repeat that. New Zealand won the toss, elected to bowl. Virat Kohli said he would have done the same thing. I don't know about that. And New Zealand have gone with their four seamers, the frontline seamers, and de Granholm. No Henry, no Patel, and the India are as per program with the two spinners. So that's the upshot of all of that. And I think that's all we need to talk about. The reality is that there's a bit of grass on the pitch, not much, and they say that it might break up Ashwin. Also, it's going to be a bounce as well. Bounce and seam, swing and spin. It's going to have the whole box and dice, and it's now up to how Gill and the likes of Sharma open the batting and the way the New Zealand bowlers of Trent Boult and Southey perform on the big world stage of the World Test Championship. Enjoy it, guys. I'm going to be watching every ball, no matter what time it is. This is the crescendo. This is the inaugural World Test Championship, the Test World Cup of sorts, the pinnacle of Test cricket, pinnacle of all cricket, whether it's T20, 50 over, IPL, CPL, BBL, whatever. This is it. Ashes, none of that matches to this match. And compartmentalise this match into one match. The Indian-England series is not relevant now. Exactly. New Zealand bowling. So New Zealand won the toss and elected to bowl. India are batting. All right, guys, we might go there. We've got 8 minutes before the game starts. All the best to you guys. And I thank you again for being a part of the show. It's been wonderful having you there. And we have done everything well. Okay. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you after the show. The time will be directly after. My link will be there in the YouTube channel. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. All the best. Oh, I better quickly say, if you like and share the posts and subscribe, making sure you subscribe to the posts, subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification button, subscribe. Go to my Twitter and Instagram handles at Norm Koch. But please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, there's no excuses. You must subscribe to help the channel grow and notify yourself by hitting the notification button. All the best, guys. See you soon.